Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I'm just going to give it one more minute as people come on. If you would like to drop in the chat just where you are tuning in from, or if you want to share anything that you are doing for Halloween at your workplace, or even what your kids are dressing up as, or you're dressing up as, see what's happening. Mine are the Mandalorian, and the other is a Descendants princess. I don't know. I think she just wanted the blue wig to wear. I don't know. But I have blue hair everywhere, all over my house. But we're happy you're here. Let's see. Oh my gosh, turning Red Panda and Coraline. I love it. I love it. Those are fun costumes. Those are fun costumes. That's so awesome. All right, well, welcome everyone. We're gonna go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just gonna say my daughter's going as a mermaid and my son's going as Jesus to their Halloween get-togethers.
I love it. That's fantastic. Very creative costumes. All right, so let's go ahead and get started today. This webinar will be recorded and we want to definitely keep this interactive. So please feel free to drop your comments, drop any questions into the chat or comment box, and we're going to have a couple polls as well throughout the session. So we want to definitely hear from you. Okay, so when we're talking about culture and great culture, we are so happy to have here Stephanie Wheeler from Mercy Medical Center. A little bit about Motion Connected first. We are an easy to use solution, an employee engagement and well-being app that boosts employee morale, improves an organization's health and well-being, and provides a positive employee experience. So there's been a lot going on this year, obviously, and we're finally in Q4. But you know, there's been some recent studies, and what we know now is that employees are really looking for a focus on employee well-being, with well-being ingrained into the organization, part of the organization's workplace, as well as organizational culture. And when we're thinking about culture, we really want to look at how organizations navigate satisfaction as well as health and engagement. So some of you may have seen this survey results recently, this recent report out of Gallup with current workforce trends and employee needs. And when we think about employee well-being and when we think about these stats, it's important to remember that well-being and engagement really interact with each other in very powerful ways. When we're well, we're more engaged. And that's what these slides are really showing. When employees are engaged and thriving, they experience significantly less stress, less health problems, they're more productive, and they stay at an organization. So people want to be seen, they want to be valued, they want to be cared for. And a happy, healthy, and engaged workplace boosts retention, enhances culture, and has greater employee satisfaction. Individuals stay at these organizations, they really do. So we're going to talk to Stephanie today from Mercy Medical Center. Stephanie is the Director of Health and Wellness. She is also a 20-year veteran in the wellness industry. She has done so many amazing things, and she leads Mercy Medical Center's best-in-class and award-winning wellness program. So thank you, Stephanie, for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the offer to take part in the webinar today. Recently, we have been acquired by Cleveland Clinic, so we're now Cleveland Clinic Mercy Hospital. This will be our first full year with them here coming in February. Prior to that, we were Mercy Medical Center, which, like you said, I've been with for 20 years, previously in a cardiac rehab and health fitness setting, and currently in the last 5 as the wellness manager, director of health and wellness. So it really, I think, takes a lot to bring a healthcare kind of population around to being healthy and fit and well for themselves. Like most of us know, being caregivers can be very difficult, whether in our own personal setting or in that type of a job field. So it's been a struggle, but I think we've done a great job. Our culture is definitely one that wants to be healthy and well. So thanks for having me.
For sure. And you have done so many innovative things to really engage your population. To start, before we start diving into everything that Stephanie has done and offered and what is working at Mercy, we want to hear from you, what is your #1 culture goal as we wrap up 2022, as we go into 2023? What are you looking to do? Is it increase engagement, improve communications, boost leadership support, kickstart morale again, or really is it just to survive? Because that's legitimate as well. So we'll give it another couple seconds to come in. No one's just surviving. Oh, there's some just surviving. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and then we can look at the results. Okay, so we have 38% looking to increase engagement. Engagement is consistently something to look at to being improved. Improved communications. Communication is always a struggle. Boost leadership support and kickstart morale are about the same, and simply survive Q4. Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you. What about for you, Stephanie? What is your goal as we wrap Q4 and the new year?
Well, recently when we had our survey across with leadership, one of the biggest things was that being able to disconnect from work, especially in leadership. So I think my biggest goal is going to be trying to get staff and employees, caregivers to engage in a better work-life balance. Being able to kind of, balance all that out. Coming off of COVID, 75% of our staff was still going to work every day. And they had a struggle going through that. Last year, still we could kind of feel the effects. But I think in 2022, we're feeling back to normal. Things have quieted down. But with our integration with the Cleveland Clinic, I still feel like there's a lot of pressures going on to get up to speed. And so I think my biggest goal is just trying to, implement those self-care programs, remind staff self-care is important, and figure out what works for our best, work-life balance coming into 2023.
That's so important. It's so important, and I know this has been said so many times, but if there's a silver lining from the pandemic, it has truly highlighted what is important, and also how organizations can really support their employees' mental well-being, social well-being, and promote more of that balance, for sure. Okay, so just to start to go into the Healthy Choice or My Healthy Choice program. Stephanie, can you tell us a bit about this program, your well-being program?
Sure. And this year we did what was called the Simply Healthy Choice. So this is our first year with Motion Connected, and it was great. It was something we've been wanting for our staff and our employees, for our culture to engage, where it was a set program that held you accountable to what you needed to do to be a little healthier and more well, and start to change your lifestyle, throughout the year, not just for a month. I'm going to do what I need to do to get done. My Healthy Choice is a premium discount program that we've run prior to getting on with Motion Connected. We require just a lab screening and a health risk assessment. So again, it was probably very easy for staff to be able to complete that. Then we added the visit with the PCP as part of the requirement as well. But having Motion Connected there to engage in activity all year, to complete videos about healthy, eating, better ways to prepare meals, and then still having the primary care visit, the health visit form requirement, and checking weights daily, and when we could. It was just really, I think, a good thing with the Healthy Choice program to have different parameters that people have to meet throughout the year. And then if they do that, retirement, well, they get a nice discount on their premiums, on their insurance premiums for the next year. So My Healthy Choice is a big component. Our culture is very familiar with it. They're already asking for next year what their Healthy Choice requirements are going to be. They thoroughly enjoyed the walking challenges and the motivation to walk more and move more that Motion Connected offered through their platform. So in these pictures that we have here is a healthy selfie challenge that we did, where we had 3 general areas, one being physical activity, one being diet, and one being to like drink more fluids. And so people would send in pictures of them doing those activities in one of our past challenges. So it was a lot of fun.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And it shows that, the different dimensions of well-being as well, that social component. And it really, I think this boosts morale as well. I love it. So with your mission statement, but also your overall organization, how many employees do you have? How many are engaged in your wellness program?
So we have about 2,600 employees, but about 4,500 on the actual health plan. And throughout this year with Motion Connected, we had over 1,700 engage in the platform, and close to half of those being able to meet all of the requirements. So we do, and I think that's why we have such a good culture, is because people are aware of our mission statement, not just encouraging that physical, mental, and financial, but also that social and spiritual, component. And I was really pleased with the engagement numbers that we had this year. People really took part in it, and we had some really great comments on the wellness surveys that we got back from Motion Connected. So yeah, it's hard to reach all those people. So I think it's important you have wellness champions, people that can get out there and help you promote and engage these types of programs.
Absolutely. And I think it's also worth noting that you have had wellness initiatives and wellness programs for several years, many years, right?
Correct. We've done a lot of homegrown things. We've worked with our third-party vendors and our TPAs that, being with Motion Connected this year to offer. I think that, first making everyone aware of the variety of resources that you have. And then if you have areas, based on your healthcare claims, if you're working with a condition management team and knowing what your risks are for your population, then you can come up with different interventions, to prevent those high costs with your claims. So, and then, physical activity has always been one of the strong drivers with our culture. Our culture at Mercy, they love challenges. They love to compete. So, the activity challenges with Motion Connected were really welcomed. And then, of course, we have the mental and emotional support resources. And with the integration of the clinic, we have even more resources now that I can offer than we did before with our wellness program.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and we're going to get into a little bit more of those details as well, for sure. So you mentioned the challenges. Can you elaborate on those challenges a little bit more and what has worked for you?
Well, I'll tell you, in the last 5 years, I have offered so many challenges. I kind of lose track sometime of all the challenges, but we try to keep to the components of physical activity, nutrition, and having better nutrition, and then getting enough sleep, obviously, because we have, people working all different shifts, first, second, third shift. And then also, getting enough fluids. We have these long 12-hour shifts with our caregivers. And so just, some of the challenges, that we've offered over the years, we've done a stress less challenge, because stress, obviously, we know can be a barrier for a healthy lifestyle. We did an 8-week escape, which complemented all 4 or 5 of the areas. Obviously, the healthy selfie challenge, step challenges. Currently we're starting this holiday weight loss challenge where you can maintain or lose through the holidays. We offered a Get More Z's challenge where you kind of, documented how many hours of sleep you got per night, and then you practiced good sleep hygiene. We did a 5 to Thrive. We usually offer this during Nutrition Month, where you try to get 5 fruits and vegetables each day. We offer blood pressure challenges, and then just personal goals challenges, where someone just makes a personal goal. They talk with our wellness staff, and they discuss how they're going to reach that, and then we meet back with them periodically. So it's been, a lot of challenges, which have been really, well received. I think the Healthy Selfie Challenge that we offered was one of the ones we had the most involvement in, seemed the most fun, and especially kind of helped during COVID, when everybody was sort of at home. It was like, how are we staying healthy? And then you could share your photos and things like that. So, and then there's the Adios Adipose, and the Biggest Loser Challenge, which I'm sure many companies have tried those as well.
For sure. It's always nice to hear about what others are doing and has worked for them as far as challenges. And you've done many creative ones. As far as lunch and learns go, what do you offer, or what are the most popular topics? What works best for you?
Well, we find that definitely having the more digital virtual platform has worked better for our lunch and learns, because when we did offer them more so in person prior to COVID, we didn't always get as many people to join, but now we can do this more virtually. We can have the recordings and have them out there. And some of the topics, obviously, that we do at the hospital is hand hygiene. It's one of the most important for our caregivers. We do fall prevention. We do exercise as medicine, why we use meal supplements, what's good protein choices, obviously workplace stress management, the importance of a well visit and preventative screening. We've done lunch and learns on knowing your numbers. We actually have a dietitian in our cafeteria once a quarter to kind of talk about what's your healthy choices in the cafeteria. High protein do's and don'ts, we've done that. Don't diet, eat healthy. We've had a webinar and a lunch and learn on that. A lot of mindfulness has been discussed in some of our lunch and learns. We did a stress less, laugh more. We actually had a comedian prior to COVID come and do some laugh more tactics. And we also have some distractive driving lunch and learn that we did as well. So that's just a few, just to name a few.
That's more than a few, but those are so great. And they're so, what I love about those is that they're so applicable. Like, people can take something from that and really apply it to their lifestyle that day. Now, these are just some pictures of different programs and offerings that you had, but they're pretty cool. So I just wanted to go over these. Can you highlight?
Yes, we have a Mercy Run group. Prior to COVID, we would get together on the weekends or maybe after work and do some walks and runs together. And then we pick a couple runs throughout the year in our local community that we try to increase registration for and have everyone get involved. So this is a good way to have camaraderie. And I'm sure many businesses and companies sort of do this if they're sponsoring an event or trying to promote health and wellness. They look at an event that their staff can get involved with. We also have a bicycling group that used to get together prior to COVID. I don't know very much if they were able to reconnect after COVID. One thing we did get to do this year, and you'll see that in the bottom corner, is we offer yoga on our helipad for sunrise. And we do this once a year on summer solstice. So that has really been a well-attended event. We actually have to cut off registration just due to space on the helipad, but we coordinate obviously with security and safety, and we're able to have this event. And our yoga instructor that does it each year is just wonderful. And Cleveland Clinic, Mercy Medical Center, Mercy Hospital, we really promote yoga as a way to relieve stress and improve mindfulness. So that's just some of the groups, the clubs, and specific events that we offer.
I love that. I think yoga on the helipad, that would be such an experience. So what you also do, and to really promote your program, and that something that I'm so impressed with, are your What's Up with Wellness meetings. Can you explain what those are and what you do?
Sure. So we used to have a wellness committee, again, that would meet in person. And then once COVID came, I found that having them virtually really helped engagement. So people could just jump on the meeting from wherever they are. Once we began integrating with the clinic, they asked that, we not so much call it a committee, but maybe move it towards just a wellness meeting to kind of go over everything that we offer here at Mercy. So I call it the What's Up with Wellness, and it's the last Wednesday of every month. And anybody can join. We promote the link out there in all ways that we can for people to join. And what I usually do is pick a topic of sorts that I want to promote for that month, whether it's our caring for caregivers, or the gym memberships, or like yesterday we had ours for October, and we talked about work-life balance. And I'll have a guest speaker from time to time. We'll talk about different topics. And I think it's really been well received, because this way people can get on virtually, they can find out what's going on in their organization. It brings a lot of awareness. We're going through benefit enrollment right now, so I also asked our benefits coordinator to join us, and she actually went through our new system and showed people how to get through their benefits, and highlighted some of the wonderful things that it's going to be offered to our staff. So the What's Up with Wellness is great. I think having wellness champions is so important, because there's absolutely no way I can get out to 2,600 caregivers. So having those lead people in your organization that can help relay this information, encourage engagement and get the information out, is so important to having a really strong and good wellness program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are so many, especially yours, you have so many resources and so many benefits available to employees that even navigating what those are could be cumbersome to many. So I think it's such a wonderful way to promote what is available.
Absolutely. It can be overwhelming when you have a large variety of programs and resources to offer, like we do. And even more so now, it's very important to have these meetings where you can just highlight one specific thing that you think your employees need to be aware of and can benefit from. And we've already seen engagement go up in some of these programs because of these meetings. It brings more awareness, and people are starting to look into them a little bit more.
That's fantastic. That's the whole point. That's wonderful. So one of these programs is the Live Well program. Could you detail this?
Sure. The Live Well program has actually been around for a long time at Mercy. It is a program that's offered from our cafeteria, and they have a station that's called the Live Well station. And what they do is they offer the healthy entree there. And then when you go to the register to check out and you tell them you have a Live Well entree, they'll either give you this card to get started, which they punch, or if you've already purchased one in the past, you just bring your card with you and they'll punch it again. And then after you buy 7 Live Well entrees, you'll get 1 free entree after that. So we really try to promote in our cafeteria, and even more so now with the Cleveland Clinic, we've been able to promote more options and varieties in foods. And I think that helps staff outside of work know, like, oh, they offered that at the Live Well station, maybe I'll prepare that for my family at home, or that is a healthy choice I wasn't aware of. So I think it's a really good thing that we have to offer. And of course, our patients and visitors and families enjoy that Live Well area as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just increasing that awareness with nutrition labels and detailing what those are, if it's calories, if it's fats, if it's sodium, those are things that I think if they're not in front of you, they're easily, outside of your mind, and encourage perhaps healthier choices for individuals.
Absolutely. We often highlight too, pick this with that. So, maybe you want the hamburger or cheeseburger today. Well, then how about pass on the fries and pick the salad? So, I mean, we know we're not going to be perfect every day with our diet. So it really helps to have this Live Well area so we can make a better choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's about that balance. So just a little bit about, before we go into all the wonderful programs and initiatives and tools that you offer, but it's so important. What I've learned from you is how important and how much of a priority it is to really care for your caregivers. So this mother's lounge is certainly one of those aspects.
Yes, when I came to my role as the director of employee wellness in 17, I realized as I toured through the hospital that we really didn't have a respite place where our staff could go. And so I was able to work with our fund development team, and we came up with some resources financially. And then I worked with our plant engineering team, and we found a space that we designed to become a peaceful place where our staff can badge in and out on a break or a lunch or before and after work and take some quiet time for themselves. So I'm really happy with the way this came out, and it was a much needed space. We got so many caregivers that use it when they can, and always get great compliments about the space. We also created a mother's lounge right next door, which is a private area for nursing mothers to use. You know, they can badge in and out of there as well. I found when I came to Mercy that that was very much lacking for our nursing mothers to get away and be able to do that in a private, comfortable space. And then lastly, I started the Code Lavender program. I had heard that our hospital, it had this program. I was very much interested in it as a response to very traumatic things that can happen in the hospital setting. So I worked with a team, and we created our Code Lavender program, which is basically a Code Lavender cart that goes out to the unit or the floor or department area where a traumatic event has occurred. And our pastoral care, spiritual care staff, and our caring for caregivers counselors, they can attend with the cart as well. And it's a way to just kind of let staff know we're thinking of them. We're here for you. You know, you may not be able to talk right then, but here's the information, and you can reach back out when you're ready. So the Code Lavender program, and especially during COVID, it was very, very much well appreciated by our staff.
Absolutely. Being seen, employees being seen for who they are, for what they do each day, also valued and cared for. I mean, that's what those are things that we all want in our workplace. And this is one very tangible way that organizations can really show and act on it and show feeling and empathy. So I think that's wonderful. It's such a wonderful initiative. So to go into a little bit more with caregiver well-being, what other resources do you have?
So we have a lot of resources through our caregiver well-being platform from the Cleveland Clinic. Those resources can be reached through our intranet. We have a Clarity program where you can work with a counselor through email. You don't have to set up an appointment. You don't have to make a phone call. It's very convenient. The caregiver will register, and then a counselor will reach out to them in their email. And it doesn't be the work email, it can be the personal email, however. And then you feel like you can kind of work with that person for whatever your needs are. And it could be something as I'm disorganized at home and it's causing me stress, to my loved one has cancer and I don't know how to deal with it. So it could be any topic. And I just really think that's a good way, because not everybody can make an appointment and go see somebody in person. Not that we don't have that, we do have that available, but the Clarity program I think is really good. We also have a Stress Free Now program, which is more of a pre-planned program that you follow for 6 weeks, and it has more defined times that you need to be responding or meet, or activities and actions that you need to complete. So that's a very good program as well. And then obviously our counselors are available, you know, basically at your fingertips to call and come and see if you have an issue. So we have a lot of programs for nurses, helping them to build resiliencies and deal with their stress. And we just have really been trying to drive that out there, because we have people who know they need it, but then trying to get them to engage in it can be a different story. So a lot of times being visible helps. I find that if I'm visible, people know who I am, and then they don't hesitate to ask for these programs that they need. So that's very important. And then obviously the wellness committee, you know, having the champions out there as well that can hold people's hands when they need it and get them to the resources that they need.
Right. And what you've really done with your program is break down so many of those barriers by providing them either on site or virtually or when it's needed. Yes, absolutely. We are recording this and everyone will receive a copy of the recording. We just had that question come in. Wonderful. So we're going to move on a bit, not away from all the wonderful things that Stephanie has done in her wellness program, but talk a little bit more about engagement and program and struggles. So what are your current struggles with your program? And you can choose more than one of these. So is it participation? Is it overall engagement? Not meeting employee needs, or all dimensions of wellness or well-being? It's not necessarily rounded. Or is it new ways to keep your program fresh? You've been doing this for a while. Or is it budget? And we'll give this just a few more seconds. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and I think it's good to discuss this and be real about it, because it's, well-being is great, working in well-being is amazing, but it's hard. It's hard at the same time. So let's go ahead and launch and share these results. We have participation is the biggest thing, current struggle, followed by engagement, of course, and then needing ways to keep program fresh. Budget a little bit, 19%, 14% not meeting employee needs, or all dimensions. This is very interesting to me. Stephanie, what do you think as far as what is your current program struggle, or overall, is this surprising to you?
This is not surprising at all. I'd say even us currently at Mercy are struggling with and mostly due to the fact, coming off of COVID, trying to get engagement up again with wellness programs, and then with the integration of Cleveland Clinic and all of the stressors that have come to our caregivers with that, learning new equipment, learning new programs, completing compliancy training. So I think that participation, I could see where that'd be a big problem for everyone, and it's a struggle. But like I said, having the variety of resources, because you're not going to meet everybody on the same level of what the need is. Not everyone needs to lose weight. Not everyone has the need for some mental health help. Not everyone needs, to be reminded to exercise. So, having a lot of resources, whether it be financial help, that physical need, whatever it is, I think it's important that variety needs to be at your forefront, and making sure people are aware those resources are out there. And then again, being visible, like I said, I think with participation, visibility is important. If I'm getting out there and people realize, oh, she's bringing us some information on this program, let me check it out, and two, your communication, your staff better than anyone. What's the best way to communicate them? How can you get the information to them? Is it email? Do you work with an organization that primarily works remotely and they would respond to email, or do you work with a primarily population or culture that isn't in front of the computer? They're out and about, sort of, 75% of our staff being caregivers, they're not really in front of their email. So that's not going to be a good tool for me to communicate and get people to participate. So you got to figure out what's going to give the energy, find your champions. I know I've said that about 100 times in this webinar, but it's really important. If you can get some people on your side and they're the enthusiastic ones driving these programs out there, that's going to increase your participation greatly.
Absolutely. Those cheerleaders, whether it's through a formal wellness champion program, or just those people that are really enthusiastic about your program, they can do so much to spread the word and get others engaged as well. And I love how we took this from some of your resources that you offer, but I love that you had a comedian come in and you really just you really keep it real at your organization.
Yeah, it's funny because a couple years ago, there was a meeting that got together, and it was right now around Halloween time. And I kind of was, teasing with my boss, and I said maybe I should dress up like the Grim Reaper and be like, get fit or die this season. And we were laughing about it. She's like, I don't know, Steph, that's a little extreme, but she knows me, and I do like to keep it real, and I want people to, you know, laugh, if nothing else. You know, laughing at ourselves is, you know, we got to be very, very realistic with what our needs are, even me. So you know, if you can't get to the program that you want, you know, I think that you're the only one that's creating the barrier for that. So, you know, you got to find what works. And, you know, I did forget to mention that we have a newsletter that we used, and we highlighted a wellness champion for some different type of a health goal that they reached. And I've got so many responses from that. People would reach out and say, oh, I didn't, and some were in their own department. They didn't even realize that their coworker had achieved that goal or done that. Or maybe they did notice something had changed about them and they weren't really sure what. And there was just a lot of kudos going around amongst the staff, and people recognized each other. I don't know how many of you are on the call that are in big organizations, and we don't obviously have the ability to know everyone that is working at our organization. So these types of newsletter articles about people really helped us get to know each other a little bit better too. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, that social connection is so important. And the comment just came in that I love this cartoon, and it's so I love it too. I love it too. I think
well,
it's
we know
wonderful.
we can always lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. So, you know, that kind of encompasses it there.
It's so true. It's so true. At my yes, it's that's something at my former organization. That's something that was said a lot to me by leadership, and it was just at the time it very much frustrated me. But it's so true. You know, we can only do so much, and laughter is very important when we're thinking about those big initiatives and big goals, and maybe not the metrics, achieving the metrics that we wanted to achieve. So when we think about engagement, absolutely those newsletters that you do and highlighting your champions, that certainly increases engagement. What else do you do for engagement?
Well, I think, you know, being down, like just yesterday, we had an event in the cafeteria. So again, being visible, you know, I'm down in the cafeteria, I'm passing out information, asking people how they're feeling, how you're doing. You know, are you feeling like you need a change in your lifestyle? Are you feeling healthy and well going into the holiday? Because the stress is going to ramp up. We know that. So I feel like that visibility, which, you know, kind of isn't really listed here, is important. Getting out, talking to your groups. I knew when I first came into the role, I asked all the managers if I could show up for about 5 minutes of their time at one of their department meetings and at least introduce myself and just highlight a few of the programs and kind of ask, like, what is the needs of that department for health and wellness? Is there something I can bring to your space? Is there something I can do for you personally, something as a group? You know, what do you want to see? So I think that really helps with engagement. Also, and obviously the challenges, they're well loved by our staff. They're always asking when the next one's going to be. So I think that's really good. We do a lot of signage. We have, you know, bulletin boards throughout the hospital. I have my own media area in the cafeteria, which is like the hub. I go out to all the break rooms and deposit flyers when I can. And obviously we really enjoyed having Motion Connected because we had that message board that everybody had right at their fingertips on their phone, and I could really speak to everyone through there as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think now, you know, the former model was people needed to see a message 7 times in order to really digest it. I think now it's 12. So having these various communication strategies is certainly key. And I really love that you met with department leaders, and for 2 reasons. First, that middle management or even upper management level can be just a hard nut to crack to really convey your message and have it be a 2-way conversation where they understand your goal. And it's not to take away from work. It's not to be shoving wellness or well-being or health down people's throats or adding one more thing to do, but really working with tandem. And I like that you asked, how can I help you? You know, what are different things that wellness can do to support? So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think the leadership understands that if you're going to help your staff feel better, they're going to be more productive and they're going to be less absent. So, I think that getting them to understand that you really want to help staff, their staff particularly, feel better, feel well, feel healthy, they're going to see changes in their workflows and in their work in their departments.
Absolutely. So this is our last poll for today. And so we would like to know, what's your biggest struggle with employee engagement? We just talked about engagement. Go ahead and distribute the poll now. Is it that there are too many emails or no one reads the communication? People are burned out. Like there's a lot going on, obviously. Is your program stale, or you need a better incentive? Or if you're thriving and engaged and thriving, let us know how. How are you engaged and thriving? If it's in the question box or in the chat box, let us know what is working well for your organization. Because we learn best by learning from each other, and what's working for you may work for someone else. So go ahead and take your time and go ahead and close the poll and share the results. And it's people are burned out. And then there's too many emails, or no one reads the communication. 5% need a better incentive. That's good to hear. And yeah, burnout and stress continues to be the main topic, or the main issue. Absolutely. And I think in speaking with Stephanie and learning more about the program and all the different ways that they care for their caregivers, hopefully some of the tips and some of the things that she's done, you can implement at your workplace, because that is such a high priority at Mercy Medical Center, and continues to be a high priority for the Cleveland Clinic. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and continue on here. And again, if you want to drop into a chat box or question box how you're engaged and thriving, we want to hear from you. So when we talk about employee satisfaction, what plays into the overall culture at Mercy? And I think when we're talking about burnout, this definitely plays a role. So resiliency is a priority for the organization.
Absolutely. I mean, being that we're a healthcare organization, we're going to feel a lot of burnout. I mean, and the most we ever felt with COVID, and now with our integration with the Cleveland Clinic. So I think it's important to have a culture that has really good attitude, good values, and just portrays behaviors that show that we want to be healthy and well for our future. And we need to be flexible. So maybe what worked, prior to COVID in healthcare isn't going to work for me now in our culture. So I think we need to figure out how to create that energy and an excitement in our organizations, so that we can build resiliency as a priority. Again, just trying to get people to participate and engage. Everyone, I feel like, knows what their issues are around health and wellness. It's not that no one knows. That's why I thought doing health risk surveys, should be obsolete, because you're going to answer the survey. You already know. That doesn't really get someone to change their behaviors. They're already aware of what they do. What you're trying to do is change their attitude about what they can do to overcome that. Are they ready? The biggest thing is helping people understand they have to be ready to make the change. And, I can offer 5,000 programs, and we know this, we could have zero engagement if people aren't ready to make the change. Yeah. So it really comes from an attitude. I think you have to support the staff. You have to make it easy for them to attain it. And especially with Motion Connected, I thought it was a very easy program for our staff to attain. I mean, we're already active, we're on our feet, 75% of the staff. We know that we can improve on our health and wellness, and Dr. Wagner was really great with her videos about that. Most of us know what our weight is. We know how our clothes fit, but seeing that visibly in the app kind of gave us gauge to change maybe our weight a little bit from month to month. And then most importantly, getting with our doctor. There's things that we're only going to share with our physician. We're not going to share even with our loved ones, maybe. So, getting people to get that visit in, was very, very important. So, getting the attitude, getting the behaviors, getting the values there that people want to engage in, I think it is really important for the culture.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Dr. Wagner. Dr. Wagner leads Motion Connected's Food for Fuel program, which is a very insightful and very easy to use model to improve overall nutrition. It's very approachable, and it's applicable for, I feel, for everyone to make some improvement with their overall food intake and overall nutrition and well-being goals. And absolutely building resilience is such a big priority. And if anything, it's about what you have done is build that awareness, but also emphasize that the employees' well-being is so important. And could you just take a moment? I know that you meet with managers or senior leaders. Is that on a daily basis or a weekly basis with your chats and check-ins?
Well, I'm very lucky that we have morning huddle every morning with leadership, and I am very lucky that I get a little spot in there right before executive staff speaks. And what I try to do actually every day of the week, I've come up with a little saying, like Monday's Mindful Monday, Tuesday's Try Harder Tuesday, Wednesday's like Wellness Wednesday, Thursday today was Think Positive Thursday, and Friday's our Feel Good Friday. And I sort of start that little conversation off, and then I can bring some updates to leadership with wellness. And if I know I can get that out there to them, then they can trickle it down through their staff and get them, kind of enthusiastic about it. So that does help, and then we have executive teams also on there, so they can kind of hear what's going on in wellness, and they're aware as well. So I think the awareness key there for leadership that I get with them daily is just wonderful, so important.
That makes such a difference in a program. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm very fortunate. It might be some organizations that are on the call, they don't get that kind of time, so maybe planning a meeting with leadership, or we in the past have had leadership who will actually be the champion. So I had Dr. Gormson, who's our medical director, was actually a champion for me, and I highlighted him. And then, Sister Carolyn from Spiritual Care was the executive leader, and I could spotlight her. So I think once you make those kind of executives and leadership a little bit more visible and make them a little more humanized to the rest of the staff, that they were going through this too, same as me, and what they did about it, I think that that brings that connection between everybody a little stronger.
Absolutely, for sure. So when you have this culture that is in an organization or a setting that is high stress, how do you deal with that? You've talked a lot about the resources and leadership is so visible, but with those day-to-day stresses, what are your tips to build a positive culture?
Well, my tips would be, first, smiling everywhere you go, because I think that, when I'm out and about in the hospital, I want to be able to say hi and smile. And I think with leadership too, we want to be able to feel warm, around them, and not have that standoffish type of feeling maybe, or not be able to be approachable. I think that's the biggest thing. So having that ability to be positive and communicate. When I'm out and about, I try to pop in and just check in with people, throughout the hospital, just saying hi, how you doing today? How you feeling today? What can I do for you today? What do you need today? So, I think it's important. We can get stuck kind of at our desk sometimes, and we're busy trying to create these interventions and these programs, but being out there, creating that positive energy, and like you said, sort of the cheerleader, it's what I get told sometimes. I just think that brings a good feeling, and these other staff members who are the same, they don't ever seem to have like a bad day, they're just the happy-go-lucky, and they just kind of really bring that positive energy. So I think that's really important to an organization.
Mm-hmm. And you also do a lot with your managers that really have direct contact with all the employees day to day. You do a lot of management training, and also almost the approach of mental health first aid, of knowing when help is needed and being able to direct managers know to direct employees to the resource that's out there.
Yes, we're very fortunate with Cleveland Clinic. They have a lot of great management training, lead type of what they call LEAD, lead programs and trainings for our staff, because you need to know what those identifiers are, and you need to be able to identify them in your staff and then get them to the programs that they need. And we do have a whole system and program in place where you can refer an employee if you feel they need that. And just knowing the verbal cues that you need to use, and the right amount of vocabulary and things that you need to say, is important to know, because I think as leaders, we might have strengths in some areas, but maybe communication isn't always one of them. So having these trainings to kind of help us speak to what we need to and help our staff is very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we start to wrap up, if you have any questions for Stephanie on her program about Mercy Medical Center, please go ahead and drop those in. But my final question for Stephanie is, what tips do you have for organizations that have a good program right now, but really want to ramp it up to a great one?
Well, my tip would be, don't be afraid to step out of the box, because you know what works. And maybe there's just something that you should be implementing, and you might be stuck in your own comfort zone, and maybe you've gotten a little complacent with it, and it's time to kind of step out of that box. Don't be afraid. I mean, I've offered many things that have just been a flop. So, you're only going to learn by doing. And that's the best tip I can get, is that just as leaders in a wellness industry, you cannot be afraid to try things, and they might not always be as successful as you hoped, but you've got to at least try. I mean, the number one, goal always is to decrease healthcare claims. We want to have that money back in our pockets for raises and improvements in our organization and other things. But if we don't have a healthy staff, we know exactly where that money is going to end up. And so we've got to constantly be thinking about, what can we do to change the attitudes and behaviors and lifestyles of our staff? And if we can't change them, at least get them thinking about how they're going to change them. So, we definitely don't want to have this, big brother watching all the time. So, we want to make sure that, we're out there and visible, like I said, and making people feel comfortable. And so when they're ready to make that change, they know where to go to do it.
Absolutely. And I think what's also what you've done such a great job of is looking at your program through different lenses to fill in the gaps. And when we spoke, Stephanie and I spoke preparing for this webinar today, you mentioned that you use the CDC scorecard to analyze your wellness program and really make sure that you're filling all the buckets.
Right. When I first came to this role, I went to the Healthy Business Council of Ohio meeting that they had, and they introduced the CDC workplace scorecard at one of our meetings. So I immediately got the information around that in the scorecard, and I started checking the boxes with our program that I knew we were meeting, and looking at those areas where I couldn't check the box on what we weren't able to offer. And, some were around budget issues, some were not. So, I think having a strategy on trying to get the highest score you can on that CDC workplace scorecard was very important for me. And it did lead me to being, best in class and getting the gold award with the Healthy Business Council of Ohio. So, and I was fortunate enough to speak at one of their manufacturing conferences that they had in Columbus. And I talked about the CDC workplace scorecard then as well.
And you've won that for several years in a row, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, I think I feel like we're at a point now where we were kind of getting that gold award sort of year after year. I felt, pretty proud and happy that we were meeting all the check boxes, that we were well-rounded and we were offering everything. And especially now, even with the Cleveland Clinic, we have even more resources to offer in all those checkbox areas.
That's wonderful. And it's always important to audit your wellness program and see where you are with your offerings The Harvard Flourishing Index is another good scorecard or metric to use, as well as the HERO scorecard, HERO. And those are you know, it just gives you kind of a good roadmap to see what you're doing well and areas that you can improve to really meet all employee needs. So I would like to thank Stephanie so much. Again, if you have any questions for her to come up, but Stephanie, thank you for your time and for your energy and sharing all the wonderful things that you've done at Mercy Medical Center.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Motion Connected.
Absolutely. So everyone will receive a copy of the slides as well as a copy of the recording of the session. Be sure to tune in to our upcoming Great Culture webinar, which is Thursday, November 11th. Shira Wilaneski, who is the National Practice Leader for Health and Wellbeing at One Digital, we're going to discuss employee trends, what she's seeing in wellbeing programs right now, and employee engagement and what we're moving to in 2023. Okay, we do have a question coming in. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, good. All right, feel free to shoot us any questions if you have any questions. And again, Stephanie, thank you so much. We'll conclude for now.
Thank you.